And now we're going to talk about something that is of interest to, I think, everyone, and that is the benefits of sport that ADHD, the benefits of sport on those with ADHD. You may already know that sports such as martial arts, archery, swimming, diving and ballet are particularly good. They create concentration skills, physical outlooks, and team sports such as soccer and basketball, which are simple, create the opportunity to be consistently moving. So today we're going to talk about sport and ADHD with a particular focus on basketball in New Zealand. Now, before we introduce our lovely participants, I would like to just check in and make sure that we're all good to go. I've just got a note. Live TV is sometimes full of technical issues. Right. The first thing is we're in New Zealand, and one thing we want to recognize is the te reo or Maori word for ADHD, which is ararotini. And those and that loosely translates to those of different focuses. We think it's a beautiful word, and one of the reasons for that is the word, let's be honest, ADHD is a horrible word. And so this is the start of our campaign to replace it with something way nicer. We need to give a quick disclaimer. The views and the information and opinions expressed during this panel discussion are solely those of the individuals involved. They do not necessarily represent those of ADHD New Zealand or its employees or its volunteers. And the purpose is to educate and discuss. This panel discussion does not constitute medical advice or any other professional advice. We also ask in the questions that you sent through, and we had some really good questions in the last hour, so please keep it up, that they're not of a personal nature because we can't answer those. So we can't wait to talk to you about the importance of sport for those with ADHD. And I have two fantastic people here. So Raymond, introduce yourself. Raymond, you're on mute. Had to be someone.
Someone. Had to be someone,
yeah.
Had to be me. Cool, Raywin, take it in your. I'm Raywin Hayes. I'm the National Coordinator of ADHD New Zealand. And I also organise the ADHD and Autistic Kids Basketball program that we have been running for a number of years.
Fantastic. Thank you, Raywin. And I understand you have two ADHD children as well.
Yes, personally, I have two ADHD children, one hyperactive ADHD child and an inattentive ADHD daughter. So I've been on the ADHD journey for 18 years and have been the National Coordinator for ADHD New Zealand for the past 3 years, which has been amazing being part of the community.
Thanks, Raywin. And Matthew, hello. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Hey, I'm Matthew. I'm one of the basketball coaches for ADHD basketball.
And Matt, tell me a little bit about yourself. You have ADHD?
Yeah, I personally have ADHD, the hyperactive version.
And how long have you been going to basketball?
I've been going for about 8 years, and I'm start working 4 years.
So given that you've been going for 8 years, you must really enjoy it.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. It's quite fun. The community in basketball is quite good.
Yeah, thank you, Matt, and welcome. And Raymond, welcome as well. I thought since you've been heavily involved in the basketball, I might start this first question with you. And if you could tell me, what is the basketball program that you have?
Right. Well, as I'm sure everyone agrees, physical exercise is good for everybody, particularly children that I mean, my children in particular hyper-focus on devices a lot, so it's a good chance to get them moving, activity, being part of a team, being part of a regular activity. So we offer the ADHD Autistic Basketball program, which we inherited from Autism New Zealand, I believe. And we offer it in 2 stages: emerging skills for younger members or people who have no basketball skills whatsoever, and advanced skills for children who have a bit more advanced skills and can kind of cope with maybe a game, that sort of thing. So,
yeah. And how long is each session?
Oh, okay. So the emerging skills is 1 hour long, as is the advanced skills. The emerging skills, the children range in age from 4 to 18 and varying abilities. And the advanced skills, a bit older children, and that's also now the somehow it works.
It does work, doesn't it? And Raymond, just to stay with you, what are the real aims of the basketball program?
Right. Well, the aim is to give the children, ball skills, basketball skills, which is always useful for them. But the real aim is for them to be part of a group, part of an activity in a community. We have reported back that, self-esteem, learning to listen, taking turns, lining up, listening to the coaches, making friends, just interacting with their peers in a safe and supportive environment is really important, because a lot of our children would really struggle in our mainstream sporting activity, and this is okay. I mean, if they need to have a break or they need to kind of wander around a bit, it's no big deal. It's a safe space.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the struggles that some of our children might have in sort of a school sports team or a mainstream sports team. What sort of struggles that might be?
Well, it may be a focus on winning and succeeding, and that sort of thing. We're more of an inclusive thing. The basketball, everybody has their own ball. There is no competition for the ball. Everybody works at their own pace. Whereas a mainstream sports game could be more about winning and people backing lots of different orders at them, and they're not sure what's going on. And if you're not sure what's going on, then you sort of kind of have a moment and don't want to be involved anymore. Where, especially with the emerging skills, everything is repetitive. It's the same thing every week. There's no surprises. The children turn up, they're not sure what to do, but after a few weeks, they get used to the routine and they get part of the whole process. So
routine, structure, those sort of stuff.
And routine and structure.
And Matthew, first of all, being part of the program before you became a coach, how important is the routine and structure?
For kids with for ADHD, it would be quite important for routine and structure, as they get hyperfixated on one thing. When some types allow, and if something sort of change, might cause drama.
Yeah, look, that's a really good point you made, Matthew. And I guess that's why it's a key reason that of the 2 hours, every training program is exactly the same, in the same order, done the same way, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
We used to have different activities and games and stuff, but we've actually almost fallen into the perfect sweet spot of the activities now. So the children start off with ball handling skills, then there's dribbling skills, running and then shooting, then a game called Numbers and Golden Child, and it seems to work well.
Matt, what did you want to say?
I would disagree with Raymond here.
Okay. It's always good to agree with Raymond, I found. Hey,
Indeed.
Raymond, let's talk a bit more about how this is set up. So it's a co-funding model, isn't it?
Yes, we are mainly run by grants, and we're very thankful to Harbour Sport for continuing to sponsor us and give us grants every year to keep this activity going, as well as parents pay a certain amount each term as well for their children to attend. We also encourage siblings to come with their, come along and play as well. This is how Matthew's sister was involved originally. We started taking Matthew's sister came along as well, and because a lot of the times the siblings and maybe the children with ADHD don't have an activity that they can do together. So this is kind of neat. They all of a sudden they're actually together doing an activity and kind of bonding exercise in that respect as well, I think. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it creates, that feeling of safety as well, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, a lot of children, when they start, their parents have to kind of walk through them with them, and that's okay. We have parents that do the activity alongside their children, and then, with a bit of luck, they get more confident, and then children like Matthew, who started when he was younger, is now a junior coach, and he helps with some of the younger children as well, which is really neat. Yeah.
And the question about the coaches, how many coaches do you have?
We have sorry.
Matthew, how many coaches are there?
Okay. There are 4 in total. I am a student coach as well as one other kid. Then there's Luiki, who is the head coach, or and then we have coach Joey, for as a now coach.
We aim to have a high number because of the nature of the children we have, because some children don't want to do the activities all the time, they wander a bit. So having sort of a high number of coaches per children, just to keep an eye on everything and sort of keep everybody safe. So,
I mean, this is a key point. You try to maintain a 1-to-4, 1-to-5 ratio, don't you?
Yes. And in our emerging skills, we really max out at about 21 children. We don't like it to get too big, much as I would love to be able to offer this to so many more children. It's just we have to kind of keep the numbers low, even just things like the noise of the bouncing of the balls, things like we don't have whistles because of the noise. We try to not have sudden noises, and we just kind of keep it as sort of a chill, fun activity, really, rather than barking orders at them, really. Yes.
And Raymond, I want to emphasize that because we just got a question from someone in Australia, no whistles, and that's really important, isn't it?
That is important. It was the no whistle, so there's no loud piercing noises. I mean, we do have ADHD children and children with autism, and so that's not conducive to a happy environment. The coaches don't yell at the kids. Nobody's yelling at the children to run. We're all just trying to, keep it together. Each child has their own ball, like I was saying, in emerging skills, because that way they have the ball. There's no competition for the ball. Everybody works at their own pace. And because of this, they build up their own confidence and self-esteem slowly. We get great success from this, I think.
That's right. Matthew, in terms of being a student coach, what do you like about that?
What I like about the student coach, I suppose it's sort of the community around it. I have such a positive time as a student, and when I become a student coach, I just want to enforce that positivity on new students.
And thank you, Matt. And that's a key point in terms of the community feel to this, isn't it?
Yes, very much. And I go to all the games. I organise the courts and that sort of thing, but I also go to all the games to check off the names of who turns up and stuff. But I like to see the families and the children there, and the children will get to know each other, and so that's something that's quite nice too. Sort of friendships form, and the parents on the sideline can even talk to each other, and little impromptu support groups kind of crop up from time to time. So it's a nice feel.
Yeah. And actually, just to go back to that, so the administration role that you play there is quite important, isn't it?
So it's also another set of eyes. The 4 coaches are busy with the students who are doing the activities, and sometimes get children that wander a bit. That's fine. That is not a problem. Nobody's hurting anybody, which is why we also have it in an enclosed court, that sort of thing. It's just keep an eye on everything, and also I have the first aid training, and help out if we have any problems. But I mean, generally the only thing that I've ever been called on is when 2 kids have maybe bumped into each other. It's sad.
Yeah, or a ball accidentally hit them.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
yes,
right.
or a road ball may go flying occasionally, but I mean, it's a nice community feel at the activity, and I think students get a lot out of it. They suddenly feel more confident to play with a basketball at lunchtime at school, or take part in PE or something like that. It means that they start feeling a bit more involved in their own school environment or their own community. It's quite nice too.
And we will look at what people think about it shortly. I just want to make sure we understand it a little bit better, because a question I've had come through is, could you do this without an admin person at the ground? I would say no.
Not want to. I don't think. I think if the coaches turned up with the balls, I mean, I suppose technically that's all that you really need, but I think you need somebody there just to keep an eye on things. We do have a couple of wanderers. It's for safety aspects, first aid. I think it's kind of a personal touch as well. ADHD has been doing this for, about 5 or 6 years, and we inherited it from autism. And I don't know how long they were doing that before then, but I remember Matthew was about 5 when it was mentioned to me. So it's been going a long time.
And before we just move on, Matt, we're going to come back to you. Could you tell the world about some of the actual games, especially in the first session? Maybe it's Golden Child or the numbers game or something like that.
Oh, yes. One of the games we play in basketball is numbers, where we give each kid a number, and when the numbers are called out, they both play a game of basketball until they score when they run back to their size.
Yeah. So to paraphrase, Matt, it is one-on-one, and it's about using some of those dribbling and shooting skills, isn't it? Yeah,
it is, and we also try to pair them off with other kids of the skill level. So you're not going to have a highly skilled person going against a person that can hardly shoot.
And which is important. And I think, Matt, you also do it by height as well.
Yeah, height is another factor of it.
And I think height becomes an issue because it appeals to such an age range, doesn't it, Raywin?
Yes, we've got children from 4 up to 18. So yes, height does kind of come into it. But especially as Matthew mentioned with numbers, that has a huge range of skills just alone. The children have to listen to what their number is. They have to wait on the sideline in the correct order. They then have to listen out for their correct number. There's a lot going on. It's a wide range of skills just in that alone. I think the soft skills can't be underestimated.
We'll talk about that in a second, because it's a question I just got, but I think it's a good time to actually ask, what do the kids get out of it? And there's a real good, let's have a look at a slide that we got from recent research. So press go, Anna. Well, Anna, there we go.
Yes.
So thank you. So what are the opportunities here? What do people think of it from your surveys?
Well, they love it, honestly. Everybody that we've ever surveyed regarding the basketball program has seen increased self-esteem, increased enjoyment. Some go on to other sports. They get more confidence that they can do other sports. We've had a couple of children go on to doing Special Olympics at their college, or just joining, other teams or being involved in other teams. So, yeah, it's and we get children, like I say, the age groups are huge. I'm not sure how it works sometimes, but it just does. Plus, also the older children start to learn empathy and almost how to control themselves as well. If you're 6 foot barreling down the court and you're encountered a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old, they don't just charge right through. They actually pull up and, they work together. We see that more in the advanced group because there's still a range of ages. Yeah. And they work together. So,
yeah. And Matt, what sort of skills and that did it teach you when you were a pupil / student there before you became a coach?
I suppose it sort of teach me, well, apart from the basic basketball skills, it also teach me sort of standing still, organization, well, planning really, as well as cooperative work, because
I think the cooperative work has actually been, I think, the number one thing that Matthew has come out of this, if I must say. When you first started, it was your way or the highway. You needed to be first and you needed to know exactly what was going to happen and you needed to be in charge. But this way, you actually learned to work with other children and in sort of empathy to them. So, I think it's important.
Hey, I've got a question from YouTube land, and this is a question we've talked about a lot. So Raymond, I'll throw to you first of all. Do you think it needs to be basketball?
No, it doesn't need to be basketball. I think basketball lends itself to it because, you only just need a ball and a hoop and an area, but it could be any sport. As long as the children don't feel overly competitive or stressed you know what I mean? It's like, if it was something like soccer, that would work because you could do soccer skills, could do anything, any sort of sporting activity. I think basketball is useful because there's all bouncing and shooting. There's we do passing skills in the advanced group, but we don't do that with the emerging
basketball
skills
and defense.
Yes, you do, basketball and
defense. Give away. You don't have to give away your ball, which I think is important because we don't want that kind of competitiveness of getting a ball and keeping hold of it kind of thing. Yeah.
But regardless of the sport, it does help that it's inside though, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. For a security point, we like I said earlier, we do have some children that tend to wander, and that's okay. I mean, some children take part and then they'll sit down or they'll just kind of wander around and they're not hurting anybody, they're not causing any problems, and that's fine. They're more than welcome. But because it's enclosed, we know they're not going to get anywhere. I'm usually seated by the entrance and exit. So, we keep it, which is another good reason to have an admin person there, just to kind of keep an eye on the wanderers and, know that they're in a safe space.
And what I found interesting is the research that we came across about whether it has to be basketball or not, that actually suggested that in terms of elite athletes, they think that up to 8 to 10% of people actually had ADHD compared to, say, 10 to 6% of the population. And there are some, famous people. You would have heard of Olympic gold medalist Simone Biles, basketball,
Yes.
Shaquille O'Neal. Of course, Michael Phelps, the most awarded gold medalist in Olympic history, all have ADHD, and we have an All Black, Zach Guilford, as well. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And it's almost like for some people, you don't know what your hyperfixation or what you're really going to be good at until you actually try it. So a lot of parents may think, oh gosh, we're not going to try that because it will just be a complete nightmare. But it's not. You've got to try stuff. And honestly, I would love to have, like I said, more people that we could do this with. But we sort of, we want to keep it smallish, but we want to keep it manageable as well. And and I love that we've actually got quite a few little kids at the moment in our basketball program, which means that they'll grow up and they'll turn into Matthews in the future. You see, so it's nice.
Oh, that's right. And while we're at it, sorry to interrupt. That please donate. We're looking to raise money for ADHD globally. Submit your questions, and this all can be found at globaladhd.com. That's globaladhd.com. And if we could go to the next slide now. And while we cue that up, social skills.
Social skills are so important. We've heard that the children are more, wanting to focus more in class or do more for themselves at school. They just, I think that's the most important thing of the basketball program. I mean, it's great that they do ball skills and that sort of thing as well, but communication, able to wait your turn, following instructions, these are also skills that you need in the classroom as well, not just out on the sports field. And I think that helps. They love the coaches. The coaches are they're just lovely. We were very, very fortunate with the coaches we have. In fact, we're hoping to expand this to other centres. We're looking at Wellington at the moment, which is the main thing, I think, because we would love to
no, I agree. Wellington would be good. Now, and given that the real outcome of basketball is social skills, that's also speaks to why it could actually be any sport, couldn't it?
Yes, I think so. Yes, as long as it's taken apart in the right way. It's focusing on the children participating and doing their best and being part of a group and helping their self-esteem, that sort of thing. I think that's the most important thing. Our coaches are lovely. They're very sweet with the kids. They don't raise their voices. They're very calm. We used to have the coaches Tiger and his lovely wife Sonia, who used to do the admin for us, and they found Luiki and Joey, and we couldn't ask for better coaches than that. And then we of course got Riley and Matthew, our junior coaches, which are great because they used to be the little kids, so they kind of know what it's like to feel like they're overwhelmed at the basketball. They know what that feels like, so they're more
exactly empathy. And as we queue up the next slide, I'm really interested in what you think parents get out of it.
The parents get about, I think, as a parent who had a child that went along to basketball long before I became national coordinator, I think it's nice to get a feeling of belonging. It's like this was somewhere you could take your child along to and they could participate and have fun and maybe learn a few skills, but actually be involved in a regular sporting activity. And know that if something went wrong, if they were unhappy, it was no big deal. There's nothing worse than going along somewhere and then your child decides I'm not going to do it and they run off and that's it, they're not doing it. And you think, oh, but here it's like, okay, it's cool. Everybody's been there, everyone's seen it. It's not a big deal. It's yeah. It's, like I said, the parents are more than welcome to come chat to me, or they chat to each other. And in a lot of cases, they get so comfortable they're quite happy to leave their children there and to play basketball while they, nip out.
Yeah.
I presume to get a coffee.
And that's quite a mindset change, isn't it? And it always takes about 6 months for the parents to do that. Yeah.
Yes, very much. I know personally what it's like when you have a child with ADHD, that you become quite good at hovering and you're just kind of waiting for the next
Yes, you do.
You're waiting for the next thing. And so the fact that you feel comfortable enough to leave your child with ADHD at a function or anywhere and actually leave, knowing that when you get back, nobody's going to go, your child did this. Well, no, they did okay. And it's okay.
Yeah. Hey, really good questions come in for you, Raywin. When children first start attending, how do you and the parents let the children know that it's a safe space?
Very good. That's a good point. We quite often appear, and sorry, Matthew, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say there's a very good question. Often we should be more, we are encouraging, while at the same time patient with the kid, seeing how he sort of started out. And probably don't know what's going on.
That's right.
And I also encourage parents to bring their children along to try it out before they commit. Definitely contact me to make sure that there's spaces available, which is the main thing. But also, I'm always like, bring them along, see if they're happy before, paying fees and stuff, because it's not for everybody. Sometimes it is a bit too noisy or a bit much, but sometimes you need a couple of times. Sometimes the children just sit on the sideline for the first couple of times just watching, just to make sure that, and then they realize, oh, it's the same kind of thing. They get to see the patterns of when things happen. They see that all the children are friendly and happy, so they give it a go themselves.
Yeah. And Matthew yawning there.
Sorry.
Hi. That's all good. One of the things you're particularly good at is with a new child, you stay with them and teach them, and you let them do what they need to do, don't you?
Yeah, again, I like encouraging the new ones and try to get them the same joy that I have when I was little.
Yeah. And occasionally that might mean you get presents, but it shows you how good a job you do.
Lots of coaches.
Sometimes the parents like what I did and get me things like chocolate and stuff.
Yeah. Which, I mean, these two student coaches, Raywin, are really important to make people feel welcome, eh?
Yes, they are. I think that's the beauty of having the younger coaches as well as our head coach and our deputy coach, because the younger coaches, they're not intimidating adults. If mind you, when you're 4, everybody over the age of 10 is an adult. But they can see that there's a child off to the side not looking, comfortable, whereas the other coaches are kind of focusing on getting the group together. I've seen Matthew take the child and just happily bounce with them off the side. He didn't feel the need to drag them all into the group, just happily bouncing them all together until he felt comfortable to come in and do some shooting with the others. So I think that's part of the key as well. And we're always very careful with our coaches. We always, police checks, as well as all the other things like risk management strategy plans and ADHD child protection policies. This sort of thing that we'd like to keep everybody safe and stuff. Sorry.
No, hold on to that thought, Raywin. And again, just to remind, you can donate and submit questions at www.globaladhd.com. And so we're down to 20 minutes, so get your questions in. And I do have a question where you started to answer, but I think it's important to get the question in, and that is health and safety. I mean, that is quite important, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I think it is important. I have a comprehensive first aid kit with me. We're at the YMCA, so they also have their first aid kit equipment. But we also have risk management strategy plans, child protection policies, everyone's police checked. And that's reviewed, as part of our grant application, but also to peace of mind that these are children, and in some cases they can't speak for themselves. So we have to make sure more than above perhaps neurotypical children that they are kept safe, because
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you have comprehensive health and safety, just to paraphrase. You have first aid kit, first aid training, that's backed up by the YMCA. You also have a child protection policy, and is there anything, and you police check, don't you?
Yes, we do, and a risk management strategy plan. So yeah, we try to think of what could go wrong and kind of cut it off at the pass. But I mean, yeah, we've very seldom had any issues at all. Like I said, the biggest thing was either a ball flying from somewhere or people bumping into each other. But we like to make sure that everything is safe and yeah.
What are some of the specifics? This is a question from YouTube land. What does a health and safety policy entail?
Health and safety policy, it's just going over what are the rights of the children, what sort of things, health and safety policy, especially even with risks. What are the risks? And coming to and from the court, what are the risks? How stop risks such as them taking off, or if it's other adults we don't know turn up, or just the venue, the other children interacting with each other, this sort of thing. We sort of try to think of anything that could possibly happen and protect the rights and of the children. I mean, they don't have to be playing basketball either. We're not going to force them to play basketball, which is kind of the beauty of this program, is if they feel they don't want to play basketball, that's cool. That's not a problem. Or they want to kind of wander around, that's fine. That's not a problem either. So we're there to encourage them to play. No, we're not going to, it's the child's right to play basketball or not, if you see what I mean.
No, that's and the health and safety policy, if you're interested, drop us an email, info@adhd.org.nz, and we'll happily share it. And hey Matt, this is a question that's come in from YouTube land, and once again people, it's Global ADHD, and you can find a place to donate as well as ask your questions. But how do you encourage children to participate and not get distracted, and not let the child get distracted and do their own thing? How do you do that?
Well, we're sort of like encourage them, not in a way that's not sort of forcefully, but at the same time, sort of motivate them to do it. In addition, I sort of give them tips on how to do it better, and giving them encouragement. To do so.
And I think the key thing, isn't it, Raywin and Matthew, is that it's not regimented. Every kid gets a ball, and if they want to have time by themselves, that's okay, isn't it?
That's okay, exactly.
I mean, in addition, they want to have we do offer breaks for a couple of minutes to get water and allow them to have time by themselves as well.
That's a good point. Raywin?
Plus also, because especially with the emerging skills, it's such a routine. the children know what's coming next. So they know, okay, we're doing this, and then we're doing this, and then we're doing this. So they're not wandering around wondering what's going on. I think after 2 or 3 sessions, they kind of get into the routine of following the other kids around to doing it. And I've seen Matthew sort of maybe working with a child on the side who doesn't really want to join in, but he'll just bounce the ball with him, and it's no big deal. It's and then they'll be like, oh, look, they're shooting the ball over there. Let's go line up and shoot the ball.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, softly is kind of the way we're going. But, I mean, somehow it works. The children all kind of get into it and want to take part and line up. We don't even really keep score of the basketball when we do the advanced skills. I'm sure some probably winners but it's just more about the fun of being together. And with the advanced skills program, we seldom have more than say 10 children, so it tends to end up being like 2 teams of 5 on each other, and they charge around the court for an hour, and it's more about just having fun together.
I think so. And what we might do now is go to the next slide, because this is really interesting. This shows the benefits of participating in a basketball program. And, you know, some of the highlights are there. Raywin, do you want to just talk to it a little bit?
Yes. It's cool. But self-esteem. Me, my eyes. Self-esteem and confidence, that's important. Especially with our children with ADHD. I mean, I'm thinking of my own children. They're constantly told stop, don't, all the time. Well, here's something that they can do and they're allowed to do. So that kind of builds up that they're capable at this. They can do this. Neither of my children could bounce the ball when they started. Now they can bounce and shoot and be involved, which they take great pride in at primary. I know my daughter, who nobody expects anything sporty from, but she just loves schooling her schoolmates at PE at school. All of a sudden now she can turn up, and when they're doing PE, she can shoot the ball, and everyone goes, oh, you can play. Like,
that's right.
Well, yes. Things like the social skills and coordination, that sort of thing. It's important. The self-esteem, self-worth more than anything. Yeah, I think.
Matthew?
I was saying that your daughter is not the only one. And there have been a couple of times that some of the students went up to me and told me how well they did at their school basketball team.
Good. That's a good point, Matt, because 4 or 5 of these students have gone on to play for schools, and we've even had one who's gone further onto a regional team, which is amazing, right?
Yeah, it is. It's cool. I think they have the confidence to come along to a safe place, which is inclusive. I mean, would they have keep going? You know, get them introductory skills with us, but with that they can kind of move on during the school community.
So I've got another question, and once again, people donate or ask you questions at globaladhd.com. What are some of the challenges of managing this program? And Raymond, this is really directed at you. You've managed it for 5 years. What are some of the challenges that you've noticed?
The challenges, it's almost like the venues as well. It's like we want to expand this, but we don't want to expand this, if you know what I mean. We'd love to have more children and that sort of challenge, but if it gets too big, it gets too unwielding, and then the benefits that we give the children that are doing the program diminish. So, I mean, it would be great to do more, to have more sessions, or especially out of Auckland, you know, provinces or like Wellington or, you know, Napier and Plymouth or anywhere, South Island, Dunedin, Invercargill, you know. But I think that's the biggest challenge, is finding coaches, finding venues, finding funding and getting that done. Yeah, I think the largest group we've ever had with emerging skills was 25, and that's when the noise gets a bit much, and that's when it starts to kind of unravel a little bit. We need the correct amount of coaches per children kind of stuff. The kids are amazing. Being involved for so long, I've seen the kids going from like little kids, and you see how much they've developed and changed over the years. Which is cool, but I wish we could do more of that and offer more of it.
But Raywin, I get the setup, but once it's set up, it's actually not that hard to manage on a day-to-day basis, is it?
No, as long as you have staff that come every week. I mean, it's a huge commitment for people. Luiki and Joey do an amazing job, and Matthew and Riley, and I tune up every week. But it's as is always the way. It's people lead very busy lives, and trying to make sure that we have people to volunteer, or with the coaches, we do pay them a small amount because it's fitting it into everybody's busy lives as well. I think that's probably the hardest thing.
And that's one of the important things, isn't it? Is we actually pay our coaches, and we pay your good self to be an administrator. And one of the reasons for that, isn't it, is it creates that commitment, and it makes us feel like we're not taking people for granted.
Yes, exactly. I mean, with volunteers, it's quite difficult. It's we're like we said, we were exploring Wellington next, and we have found a coach that could work, but just trying to find everything and setting it all up. That's probably the challenge. And making sure it's small enough.
So I think that 20 people is probably the right size for people who are thinking about building their own platform. But of course, they can contact you at info@adhd.com wherever they are in the world, and we'll happily share our model. And as we mentioned, it doesn't have to be basketball, but we do think it needs to be inside. And another question, once again, adhd.org. globaladhd.com is where you send the questions. Matthew, what have you learned along the way?
What I learned along the way, I said sort of like teaching skills on top of basketball skills, and basically I have to allow how to bring others up. And ways of basketball.
And did you learn anything about yourself, Matthew?
Well, I mean, I suppose it's supposedly really good at basketball, and top of really more caring person than I realize.
Yeah, I agree. You're wonderful with children. And of course, you've also learned money skills because you get paid a little bit each game, don't you? That's funny. And I think we have one more slide to show. And that is the program. Oh, sorry, we need to remove that slide. Sorry, I can't read my own writing. Thank you. Magical person in London. This program has been recognised, hasn't it, Raywin?
Yes, it has. Interestingly enough, we were contacted by a school in the US quite recently. They are bringing over some students as an exchange program next year, and they're looking at volunteer organisations to for their students to be part of. And we were contacted to see if they wanted them to come along to our basketball program and help out for a day. So it's kind of nice. It's nice to see that, it's been recognised on the other side of the world. So exciting. I think that's in March next year.
And of course, ADHD New Zealand was on Dances with the Stars, or Strictly Ballroom if you're from London. or the UK, and they did a little featurette on it as well.
Yes, they did. It was with Sophie
Yeah.
Gray. Yes. No, Sonia Gray, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Unfortunately, she was eliminated first, so we didn't get to see the clip.
Ah, but we did, Matthew, in the final show. They did a special screening.
I only heard of the news. I honestly don't watch it.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure dancing is your thing, is it?
It's definitely not.
Hey, if we think about what we've covered, you've set up this program. A program for 20 kids ADHD on the North Shore of Auckland. We know that we can just pick up the model. We know that it's well funded, and a co-funding model really, really works. Hey, what is your one take up? I'll ask you, Raywin, for your first take out, and then I'm going to pass it to you, Matt, that you want everyone, the thousands and thousands of people watching the world's first 24-hour ADHD conference to have.
I think it's that the sport encompasses more than just winning. I know that's a bit woke and PC, but it does. I think our program's more about being an environment and a community, and encouraging the children to just kind of take part in that. They kind of learn a bit more about themselves, like Matthew was saying. He's learned more empathy, and he's probably more caring than he thought he was. So yeah, my take home is that sport's not just about winning, it's about being part of the group and being part of your sporting community.
Thanks, Raywin. Matthew, what's your take home message?
I would basically say the same thing as Raywin said. Be nice to your community, but basically care for your community and each other.
Thank you. And my message to those of you out there is, just because you have ADHD doesn't mean, or your children might have ADHD, doesn't mean they don't want to do sport. And you can ask Michael Phelps, Shaquille O'Neal, and All Blacks Zach Guilford, and you'll find that sport is an amazing outlet. It's a pity we're in a world where sometimes those with ADHD can't fit into, I guess, a typical sports team. And that's one of the reasons we're so proud at ADHD New Zealand to drive basketball. And if this is something that is really of interest to you, contact us at info@adhd.org.nz, and we'll help you set it up anywhere in the world. As I mentioned before, it doesn't have to be basketball, but we do think it needs to be inside, and we'll be happy to help. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Raywin, for your time. I know it's a bit weird talking about something you take for granted. That basketball is, you know, it seems a bit odd talking like this, so I really appreciate it. Now, coming up on the Global Conference ADHD New Zealand section, we're now going to talk about education with two fantastically qualified speakers, Tracy and Jenny, and we will talk about approach to education for those children in primary and secondary schools. I'm going to sign off now, and we're going to leave with a video, and we'll see you in about 5 minutes. Thank you very much. Ka kiki anō.